is going to be called before Prince Hall. Now, some of you may be wondering, why would I say such a thing, or why would that be the topic of conversation? Although I had another thing I was going to talk about, but this one seems to be more pressing in the title, because I know a lot of times we like to consider our brother Prince Hall, or Benjamin Banneker, as some like to say, as being the first Black Mason. And that can be true for the United States. That can be true for that time and period for which he became a Mason, along with those 14 other gentlemen who later became Masons after he was initiated, passed, and raised. That could be true. However, long before he became a Mason, there were other Black Masons that was in the system that we know of today, the Grand Lodge of Scotland. And if you do not believe what I'm saying, just do your research. Go to the website of the Grand Lodge of Scotland and watch and go through their archives, and you will find that before slavery ended here in the United States, they were allowing or initiating Black Masons in their Grand Lodge system. And so what we find today is that we like to consider Freemasonry to be that fraternal order of bringing in and allowing men to unite regardless of their race, regardless of their wealth, regardless of a whole lot of other things, but in their religious belief. But however, when you look at the totality of Freemasonry and what it has meant to those who are members of the society, and how Freemasonry has interwoven itself into the very system as we know of today here in the United States, you will find that we were always there. We've always been there. But a lot of people don't want to tell you that. A lot of people want to tell you that, it wasn't until the 14 or 15 individuals was initiated into the lodge, into Ireland Lodge, or the military lodge, that then we became Masons. And that is not true. I would say the system as we know it today, the Grand Lodge of Scotland, was allowing Masons were allowing African Americans, not African Americans, but they was allowing people of color to become Masons within their system. Long before the United States, long before England, even during that time of slavery here in the United States, Scotland was accepting Black men as Masons. All you have to do is go and look at their archives, and you will see for yourself. We've always been there. From the conception of what we know as Freemasonry today, we who are African descendants of men of hue have always been there. All you have to do is take your time and go and search for yourself, and you will see. Even with some of the things that we would consider landmarks, we've always been there. But the landmarks that we have today is an American concept of landmarks for the most part. And with most jurisdictions, they can choose to abide by them or not. They can pick 1, 2, and 3 or not. They can pick and choose which landmarks that they would custom their jurisdiction to. But I would say that when you look at the totality and the frequency of Freemasonry, when you indulge yourself in it, you will find that these landmarks that are there, they was put there for other reasons, period. Not a reason to protect a Grand Lodge or a jurisdiction, but they was put there to keep you out of this thing we call Freemasonry, out of the system of Freemasonry. So when you develop your own jurisdictions and your own Grand Lodges, that was keeping you away from understanding what Freemason was all about, and who was it about, and where did it come from, and how was it developed, and why is it being used in such a way to benefit those who don't look like you? Because let's be honest, Masonry has benefited a lot of people. Oh, yeah, it has. You know, Masonry has benefited a lot of people. You know, and they don't look like you. But as Freemasonry has spread it and and has grown, yes, you can be included now, but I'm talking about in the mid to early foundation of Freemasonry around the world. Scotland was the only one at the time accepting Africans, a people of hue, to become Masons within the construct of what we know as the Grand Lodge system. Okay, and before that, you had what you call lodges. A lot of people want to call it and connect the stone Masons with the Masons of today, and I just have a different perspective based upon what I've learned. Is that it wasn't necessarily that way. It was because Masons of that time was enlightened individuals, and those who was enlightened looked at things differently than those who looked at it from the standpoint of saying this is what it is. No, those enlightened ones inverted themselves into a society of what we know of as today as Freemasonry, because they was enlightened, they were scientists, they were people of moral. I want to put this in the right frame of work. Those enlightened Masons didn't necessarily believe, they weren't a religious type of person. They were scientists. They was individuals who dealt in alchemy and different other types of things. Voodoo, and some call it voodoo. Those Masons were different. And you may be saying, what do you mean, brother? I mean, how did you even get to this point? You know, yes, there you go, Brother Jay, I appreciate it. How did you even get to this point? I got to this point based upon all of the books that are out here. And when you pick up, you have to read and be able to decipher and break it down for yourself. That's how I got to my point. You know, I mean, granted, it's a beautiful thing, you know. Oh, yeah. So when I was indulging, when I began to open this Pandora's box and began to learn, I'm like, wow, I had no clue that the Grand Lodge of Scotland was doing their thing big time. No clue at all. And then I had to understand that this thing of the Masonic lodges came along way before this thing that we want to create and bring in what we call stone masons. You know, where they used the compass and square to do these things, and they had secrets, they had trade secrets. That's all great. But Freemason was based upon a philosophy of thinking. It was based upon a thought process. You know, when you want to look at those who was enlightened, who came into Freemasonry. So when you say, well, our brother, yeah, I said our brother Prince Hall and those 15 others who was initiated into that military lodge, when you say that they were the first, they were not the first. They was probably the first here in the United States. But then you got to consider those brothers who were Masons in Pennsylvania. I mean, not Pennsylvania, yeah, Philadelphia. You got to consider them. They were Masons in Philadelphia at the same time. You got to consider where did they come from. So this concept of who came first, is crazy. You know, especially if you open Pandora's box and see for yourself, you'll be like, oh my God. See, a lot of stuff is hidden from you. It's hidden from you in books, and I don't like revised books, because when you get a revised book, they leave out a lot of important information. So I would prefer getting the original copy of a book instead of a revised version. So in saying that, I have a Masonic brother he legitimately has over 3,500 books. Yeah, I said that. I have a Masonic brother that has legitimately over 3,500 books dealing in Masonry. So, in having this information and the stuff that he shared, it's different. His library is extensive. So when I want something, when I want to ask a question, and I say, look, where can I find this information at? Well, in this book, I may not have the book, but he can pull it up and say, this book will give you this. And there are plenty of black authors out there who have written Masonic books and broken down a lot of things that we find in Freemasonry that we don't pay any attention to. We always, for the most part, buy books by those by white Masons. Put it out like that. Stop being so nice. We buy other books by white Masons that write books, encyclopedia, but we don't buy books that is written by African Americans or Africans or people of hue. We don't buy their books. There are plenty of books out there that will give you various insights on black Masons. I mean, there's a book that I have one of the first books that I have that it says African and Freemasonry. In this book, I'm at work so I can't really show it to you, but in this book, this guy does an extensive research in regards to how the black man was a part of Freemasonry from his conception. He does that. You know, and this is the thing that you need to know. You need to know we was always there. We have always been there. They just never told you that. They never told me that. But when you find out that you was there from the beginning, it's a different feel. And I keep telling you that. I keep trying to bring it to you in such a way that you will be able to say, okay, I'm good. I get it. But some of you are not going to get it because you're so intertwined. You're so asleep. You're so okay with somebody giving you information that you didn't go and get for yourself. If you don't, you're so used to that. You'll be like, oh, okay, cool. I'm good. I'm not good. When you tell me something or share with me information, I want to go back and check it out for myself. That's what I want to do. I believe that's the best thing that you can do is go back and do that for yourself. That's the truth. Because that gives you something to work with other than the Duncans, other than the Lesters, other than the game of Freeman. It gives you something different. You know, you would not believe how many Masonic rituals there are out there. Really and truly. And the ones that I've seen and the ones that I've have, they're all similar. They're all similar. They're not the same. They're all similar. And I would tell you that the obligations in these various Masonic rituals are all similar. They're not the same. They're all similar. The only thing that I found that is the same. These are what I consider landmarks. The way you was prepared, the way you was positioned at the altar, and the way you came in, okay? All of those things were all the same in the various Masonic rituals that I have. They were all the same. The obligation, it varied. It varied in wording, but what remained the same. What remained the same is the mere fact of your penalties. In all of the Masonic rituals I have, all of the penalties, all of the signs, all of that is the same. All of it, you know. Some wordings may be a little different, pronunciations for them may be a little different, but they was all the same in their similarities and how they did their workings. So when I considered who came first And long before my brother Prince Hall became a Mason, I have to look at it in its raw form. Why did he want to become a Mason? A lot of people don't ask that question. What did he see in Freemasonry that wanted him to be part of that? Although we know, and history has said in some writings, some agree, some disagree, that he even petitioned the Grand Lodge of Massachusetts. That's what it say. Now, what is it about Freemasonry that drew him in that he wanted to be part of it? You have to ask yourself that. Did he know that people that looked like him was there from the beginning? Did he know that? Brothers, have you met the first Grand Master? Well, Imhotep is considered really to be the first Grand Master. I mean, that's the information I've read. That's my conclusion now, until somebody brings something different to me. However, back to the subject at hand, is when you consider for a long time that people of hue have been considered less than and locked out, you have to change the narrative. You have to change the narrative. You know, I'm gonna share this with you, and he may be watching. I was talking with a brother today, and in his life, he was put away. He was put away. He was locked up for a while. And this brother, and I've said it before, but I talked with him today, and I'm just going to share a brief stint of the conversation because I think we need to hear this and understand this. Is that in this brother's life, he found Freemasonry to be something that enlightened him to be a better person based upon the construct and its application. He did that. So he petitioned a mainstream Grand Lodge, and they kind of jostled him around a little bit based upon his background. But he later found a Masonic home in another jurisdiction, which is great, and one that he feels comfortable in. But his process and his learning of Freemasonry without being initiated into Freemasonry brought him full circle into a place, into a brotherhood, into a society that would assist him and aid him along the way. Now, what does it look like for this brother to pick up books and learn in regards to Freemasonry and not be initiated a Freemason, but later being initiated a Freemason and saying, this is the place for me? It's something about the craft and the society that draws a person in, just as it drew in Prince Hall. So you have to look at that, because I would say this. People say that Freemasonry is losing members. No, Freemasonry isn't losing members. It is the totally opposite. It is not that Freemasonry is losing members. I would say that the system for which we have brought forth out of a Grand Lodge is losing members. There are members who were Masons around us all the time. They just choose not to participate in the system itself. They enjoy the craft, they just don't choose to participate in the system. And let me explain it. Let me explain it this way. When brothers and sisters become Eastern Stars and Freemasons, and they enjoy the brotherhood, the sisterhood, they enjoy all of that, and then something happens and arises within the chapter or lodge, turns them off. Not from the system as far as what it stands for, but from the lodge and chapter. Something happened and it wasn't taken care of. So they say, you know what, I'm done with this. So they remove their membership. They no longer want to have association with the lodge or that chapter, but they want to have the benefits and the pleasure of meeting and traveling and enjoying the craft in the society. They enjoy that. But that other BS, they don't want to have no dealings with it. That's what I mean. So when we look at who came first in this system of Freemasonry, again, we've always been there. So true, because I go on within my lodge. Yeah, you know, it's that way. And if you don't believe what I'm saying to have any truth to it, go to the Grand Lodge of Scotland's website. Go to their website. You will see pictures, old pictures that go, old paintings and stuff that show, I don't want to say African Americans, but shows descendants of Africa or black people who are in their lodges. Period. They're the ones. I mean, there may be others, but right now, as far as the information I have, Scotland is that system of masonic system that was very open to having black people in their lodges. And I would say France is another one, but I'm going to pick Scotland over France. South Sudan pyramids are on that, many aren't talking about it. My pick correct. Oh, my pick correct. You know. So so to me, this is the beauty of it all. This is what I find in Freemasonry and what I get out of it when I do my research, when I come across information. I want to share it with you, and then I want you to take what I've shared with you and go do your own research on it, break it down, and share it with somebody else. There's no need of you brothers who are out here who are very enlightened. I met some, oh my God, I met some awesome brothers who have this enlightenment in regards to Freemasonry, and you hoard it. You hoard it. Don't do that. Don't hoard the information. Share the information. It may end up saving a brother's life. Let me tell you the truth. When I was telling the story in regards to the brother who had Masonic books while he was locked up, he said to me that these books helped to shape and to get him to a place where he was able to rise above. And in doing so, when he came out, he sought a Masonic home. He eventually found one. But look at what it did. Look at what it did for him. And you have to be able to take that. If I'm true to who I say I am as a Mason, period, then I'm going to be true to this brother. I am. I'm going to be true to you. I'm not going to be just true to those who are in my lodge. Because when I say I'm a Mason, I'm just not a Mason in the jurisdiction of John G. Jones Grand Lodge. I'm a Mason in the Society of Freemasonry. So this is I believe this is why Prince Hall wanted to be part of Freemasonry. It was the society, and he's seen the workings of how it works or how it goes. Brother, I love Freemasonry with all of my heart. Brother, I say to you, Freemasonry is some 4,000 years older than any religion. Research. I live in the middle chamber. I know, brother. I know. You told me. Definitely. We're gonna have to do something together real soon here, no doubt. First black Mason was John Pine of England. I've heard that. He wasn't the first black Freemason. He was one of the first of many. Okay, I couldn't tell you who was first, but I do know that John Pine ranks amongst the first that has been written and written down on paper. I will definitely agree with you on that. But there were many others before Pine. If you would go to the Grand Lodge of Scotland and look at their historical documents, you will find that, yeah, we were there. We were there already. Okay, of England. Okay, I can see that. Yeah, yes, I've read that. I've read that. But this is what we have to do. Because I would tell you this, if you Google, say you say first Black Masons, if you Google that, Prince Hall's are going to come up, bar none. If you Google first Black Mason, he's going to show up. And what that does to me is to tell me, look, well, something ain't right with that. No, something ain't right with that. Even if you put in first, you said first Black Masons, first known Black Mason, Prince Hall is going to show up. If you say first Black Mason, blah, 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 Prince Hall is going to show up. And there is nothing wrong with the name showing up, but that's not the truth. That's not the truth. This is why it's important to have books. Books are very, very important. I mean, granted, you can download a lot of stuff, but I like to hold a book and pop it open and highlight it and do a lot of stuff to it. And that's important. It's important to know about the history of your jurisdiction. All of that's important. But out of all of that, you need to get a solid foundation of Freemasonry. You need to have a solid foundation of Freemasonry. And when you have that, it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. I'm going to have to go. I hope that you've enjoyed the information I've shared with you. Whatever you do, please keep your light on, stay out the bushes. Remember this, I'm not your study guide, but I'm here to help you study. And please do some research when you have questions. And look, I'll help you. I will help you. And you can probably take the information I got and expound on it, add to it. It is just not what I have, this is it. No, expound on that, man. Blow that thing up, you know? So look, sisters of the Order of the Eastern Star and brothers of the craft, I hope you've gotten something out of this brief conversation we've had today. Just so you know, I am working now on my podcast. A sister hit me up. She said, I like the information you're sharing, but you should do a podcast. So I'm going to have to get on it. So until next time, peace and be well. I'm out.